Now on NBC6, an historic day on Capitol Hill's lawmakers hold a debate ahead of voting whether to impeach President Trump. NBC6 taking a look at what Florida lawmakers are saying.
Nearly 2 weeks after a deadly cross-county chase, we're learning more about the investigation into how this all unfolded.
And a solution to that sewage spill in Fort Lauderdale. Things may be back to normal, getting there anyhow, after days of a really smelly problem.
Live, the news on NBC 6 at 4 starts now.
We do not act now, we would be derelict in our duty. It is tragic that the president's reckless actions make impeachment necessary.
A history-making day for the nation today. President Trump is on the brink of impeachment as the House prepares for a historic vote.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi delivered the opening remarks earlier today before House members started an hours-long debate. Live look right now at the debate. Lawmakers get 6 hours to debate the 2 articles of impeachment before taking a vote.
They've been debating since early noon. Hello, everyone. I'm Jackie Nesbro.
And I'm Keith Jones. Thank you for being with us. This vote is expected to go along party lines.
NBC6 political reporter Steve Litz joins us now in the studio with a look at how today's debate is going. Steve.
Hi, Jackie. Members of Congress are not straying far from their party. This is a big day on Capitol Hill. The 45th president set to become only the 3rd ever to be impeached. This morning, the House started marching toward a historic evening vote to impeach President Trump. Democrats are insisting Congress must defend democracy by evicting him from the White House. Republicans, they are in lockstep with the president. They accuse the Democrats of having it in for Mr. Trump since day one, and they insist he did nothing wrong. There are 2 articles of impeachment charging the president with abuse of power for trying to enlist a foreign power, Ukraine, for his own political benefit. And then that second is obstruction of Congress for blocking lawmakers from investigating his actions. 2 Florida congressmen were among the speakers today, Ross Spano from Central Florida and Ted Deutsch from Broward County.
American presidential power comes from the people through elections. And the Constitution requires that we protect those elections. But when the president abused his power to solicit foreign interference, he was cheating American voters before they even had a chance to vote.
But the American people see through this sad charade for what it is, an attempt to undo the 2016 election based on hearsay and opinion, not fact.
The White House insists Mr. Trump would be busy working today rather than focusing on the impeachment proceedings. But Mr. Trump did spend some time this morning tweeting and asking for prayers. More on that coming up at 6. Live in the studio, I'm Steve Litz, NBC6 News.
Okay, Steve, thank you. And as the debate continues here, we will be updating you on the latest developments as well as when the historic vote happens on air and on the NBC6 app.
We're following breaking news out of Oregon. Police say 3 people have been stabbed, 1 fatally near a shopping center. This is happening in the city of Beaverton, located about 7 miles west of downtown Portland. Police say the suspect is in custody and no longer a danger to the public. The medical condition of the 2 surviving victims have not been released. We'll continue to monitor this story throughout our afternoon shows and the NBC6 app. And South Florida looks to be in a soggy mood today. Rain chances are lingering.
A live look right now at Fort Lauderdale. South Florida's chief meteorologist John Morales joins us now in the forecast center with a closer look at how much rain we might expect here. John?
Hey guys, yeah, certainly gray out there still at this hour as First Alert Doppler 6000 shows some lingering rain, patchy areas of showers in parts of South Florida. The bulk of the rain, though, missed us, and second, well, has moved away. You can see here as I zoom into a couple of locations, you'll see, though, that some of those patches are still crossing the Everglades here, headed possibly towards Homestead. We'll see if they survive. Other rain showers have crossed parts of Key Largo there. And further south, we do have some rain here skirting just to the south of Marathon. It's possible some of the middle Florida Keys will see some rain over the next few minutes as those showers slide on towards the northeast. Now, I told you, we missed the bulk of the rain. You saw that green on the map. None of that green ever survived to make it here. So while Naples saw over an inch of rain, there's a lot of spots here in Metro South Florida that got nothing out of this. But Miami did pick up 0.07 of an inch of rain, Key Largo 1/100 of an inch, and Key West, you had a good downpour down there with 0.85 of an inch of rain for today. As far as current temperatures, we're talking 70s now after the front moved through. The high was close to 80 this afternoon. Here's a look at traffic now. And for the first time this afternoon, here's Kelly Blanco.
Thank you, John. 4:04 is the time right now. No problems or delays on I-75. Your northbound and your southbound lanes cruising at a nice speed here between 60 and 70 miles per hour right near NBC 6 studios here by that exit near Pines Boulevard. But I-95 southbound, we have a car fire right around Pembroke Road there, blocking 2 of your right lanes. So that is definitely something to be mindful about if you are headed in Broward County or leaving Broward County as well. Palmetto drivers, this is your drive right near Northwest 122nd Street. We're seeing some delays up ahead as you make your way towards 103rd Street. No real big issue as you make your way northbound towards that I-75 ramp leading up to Broward County. Now let's take you on over to I-95. Things look clear here, and this is right around Southwest 26th Road, so by the roads if you're heading towards US 1. I-95 northbound drivers, we do have an accident right around 62nd Street blocking one of your lanes. Drive carefully.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, the autopsy of the victims in the UPS truck police shootout are complete. At a meeting with community leaders, an agent with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement added the results would not be available for a few more weeks. The autopsies are expected to show whether Frank Ordonez and Richard Cutshaw were killed by an officer's bullet. The FDLE said its preliminary finding shows 195 bullet casings were found at the scene in Miramar, and that add up to 21 officers who opened fire.
We have recovered thus far thousands of hours of videos. So if you can imagine the mammoth tasking that is, to review every single video and to ensure that we don't miss anything.
Today, family, friends, and loved ones gathered for the funeral of Richard Cutshaw. The 70-year-old was shot in the car while at the intersection where the shooting took place. On Tuesday, the family announced they have retained an attorney.
All right, detectives in Broward County need your help here finding a man who they believe was kidnapped and beaten in Fort Lauderdale. Surveillance video shows us part of that incident unfolding inside of a Shell gas station, and deputies did catch up with the suspects. NBC 6 reporter Marissa Baggs, she's live at the jail in Fort Lauderdale where they are being held. Marissa.
Yeah, Keith, usually investigators have their victims and they're looking for suspects, but in this bizarre twist this time around, investigators have their suspects. They're actually here at the Broward County Jail, and now they're trying to find the victim in all of this. Now, surveillance video really gives you a look at what was going on here. Take a look. This is inside of a Shell gas station along Northwest 27th Avenue and West Sunrise Boulevard Tuesday afternoon. It shows a man with chains wrapped around his neck and both wrists. And one of the suspects here, 36-year-old Kenneth Douglas, appears to forcefully grab those chains around the man's neck. Now, the unidentified victim is apparently trying to get the clerk's attention in all of this. Eventually, Broward Sheriff's deputies say Douglas hit the victim in the face and he falls to the ground. Investigators say that the man standing behind them wearing a hat is another suspect, 31-year-old Terrell Jenkins. Both Jenkins and Douglas went before a judge today charged with kidnapping and false imprisonment. Deputies say it took the gas station clerk a minute or two to figure out what was going on.
He stated that initially he did not realize that the victim was chained due to the plastic and all the obstruction on the glass. However, when he was pulled into the vehicle, he noticed that the victim was taken against his will.
And people who saw all of this happening called police, let them know, and that's how they were able to catch up with those suspects. But for right now, again, BSO looking for the victim. They don't know who he is, and they're concerned that he's hurt and in need of medical assistance. So if you recognize him or know his whereabouts, you're urged to call Broward County Crime Stoppers at 954-493-TIPS. Now, in court today, one of the defense attorneys tried to explain why the suspects chained this man. It was kind of an interesting exchange, what they were trying to say to the judge and what she had to say back to them. We'll show that for you coming up in a live report at 5 o'clock. Reporting live in front of the Broward County Jail in Fort Lauderdale, Marissa Bagg, NBC 6 News.
The American Airlines mechanic charged with sabotaging a jetliner with 150 people on board pleaded guilty today. Abdul Mahid Maruf Ahmed Alani had previously pleaded not guilty, although he admitted to sabotaging the plane in an attempt to gain overtime. Prosecutors say the 60-year-old is a naturalized U.S. citizen originally from Iraq and has some links to Muslim extremists. Although he's not charged with any terrorism-related crime, he is charged with attempted destruction of an aircraft, which carries a maximum 20-year prison sentence.
Well, a former Miccosukee police officer facing serious time behind bars. Michael Martinez made 2 teens strip naked and then run down a secluded road in the Everglades back in 2016. Will now spend the next decade in state prison. A jury found him guilty this fall on 2 counts each of extortion and unlawful compensation. Martinez remains behind bars, but a judge is allowing him to be released on $20,000 bond while he appeals the convictions.
Now to an update on the sewage main break in Fort Lauderdale. 9 days later, Mayor Dean Trantalis says crews have made significant progress on the broken 54-inch pipe in the Rio Vista neighborhood overnight. A line stop was placed on each side of the pipe, which is now flowing smoothly. Wastewater collection system is back online, meaning sewage is not seeping into homes. Crews continue to sanitize the impacted areas and rivers, but when the 54-inch pipe will be fully fixed, we don't know.
We're hoping that we start that repair today, and it's a big pipe and we have to get the one out that's there and then get the new one in. Conservatively, I would think that we have that project done by Saturday morning at the latest.
A precautionary advisory for recreational activities in the area remain in effect. Pretty much stay out of the water, they're saying. The city mayor added it's too early to speculate how much this has all cost, but says it's not a cheap fix.
Miami-Dade police arrested 2 suspected criminals today who they say were selling heroin laced with fentanyl. Police said they launched a joint operation with federal authorities about 4 months ago called Operation Bad Batch. During that time, 9 people, including the pair we just told you about here, have been arrested. They say these lifelong criminals have been selling narcotics by schools and churches, but now those drugs are off the streets and away from our children.
We know the Super Bowl is coming to town. We want to ensure our community that our detectives and our officers are going to be out there looking out for these type of transactions, these type of sales, and that's what we always urge them. Anybody that sees anything to please call us.
As always, police say if you see anything suspicious and want to report it, go ahead and do so. Call Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers 305-471-TIPS. You can remain anonymous.
The family of a drunk driving victim is partnering up with Mothers Against Drunk Driving and FHP to raise awareness this holiday season. The incident made national headlines as the victim, Rachel Foster, was killed just days after giving birth to her baby girl in 2016. Tragically, Foster's daughter was killed earlier this year by her father in Texas. NBC6 reporter Amanda Plasencia is live in Northwest Miami-Dade with a look at the family's message. Amanda?
Yes, Jackie, and drinking and driving is always a bad combination. And today, the family of Rachel Foster, they're trying to send that message clearly as their daughter, that mother, was killed just here off of the Palmetto Expressway near 57th Avenue, northwest 57th Avenue, from an impaired driver that killed her. Now, Rachel's mother, Delia Foster, bravely spoke out today as she remembers how she lost her daughter to a drunk driver on Father's Day back in 2016. Her family says that the 24-year-old asked a neighbor to drive her to the Palmetto Expressway so she could help her boyfriend who had run out of gas, but she never came back home. In April of this year, the driver, Leonardo Morciego, pled guilty to DUI manslaughter. Now, the mother left behind a baby girl who was just 19 days old at the time. But in a tragic twist, Rachel's surviving boyfriend is accused of killing their daughter over a year later in Texas. But Wednesday was about turning this family's pain into action. Delia gathered with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Florida Highway Patrol, and trauma surgeons at Jackson South Medical Center as they hope to prevent other fatalities on the roads, especially during the holiday season.
Over 10,000 people are in the same situation that I have every year, and we have to stop that. Much of the rage I experience comes from the knowledge that this tragedy was 100% preventable.
A mother in tears urging drivers to be responsible, always have a plan, and don't drink and drive. I'll have more on some of the sobering statistics when it comes to drunk driving coming up for you in my next report at 6 p.m. But for now, I'm live in Northwest Miami-Dade. Amanda Plasencia, NBC6 News.
Watch the top part of your screen. The man who's entering a Dillard store in Pembroke Pines allegedly stole more than $1,400 worth of items. Police are now asking for your help finding this suspect. If you can identify him, call their department at 954-431-2200.
Students will be learning about today's historic impeachment vote for years to come.
And NBC6 reporter Ari Adzer joined a group of college students who got together to witness history in the making. Here's a preview.
So as you can see on the screen behind me, the impeachment debate has been going on all day. I'm standing with Professor Randy Pastana here at FIU. He teaches political science. And earlier we had a whole class full of students watching this going on. What kind of learning opportunity is this for the students?
This is a huge learning opportunity. They're living history right now. This is something that you cannot get in the textbook, and this is something that they're going to be able to tell their kids one day.
And as the students watch all this, do you think they understand all the nuances between what both sides are arguing?
I think they do, but you also have a large group of students that are just fed up because this process has been going on a while. This back and forth, this extreme partisanship has really been going on since President Trump was elected. And I think they're overwhelmed and just really sick of it. But I think they have a general understanding of what the Democrats are arguing, what the Republicans are arguing. But I think at this point, it's just become too much, and they're just ready for it to finish.
Is this the kind of thing, though, where they get to see illustrated the checks and balances in the Constitution?
Absolutely. This is Article 1 versus Article 2 right in front of your face, right? You're able to see how much power that the president truly does have, especially in something like foreign policy, and how much power the Congress has to check him in things that are traditionally very president-forward, like foreign policy. It certainly makes my job teaching these students a lot better. It certainly makes our faculty, because they're able to show real-world examples of how policy is actually being acted out in real life.
Excellent stuff happening here all over the nation. Actually, just happened to be here at FIU with some students watching it, and you're going to see that coming up in Education on 6, so stay with us.
You've been watching the NBC6 News on the NBC6 app as the House debates continue ahead of an historic impeachment vote.
We're going to continue to bring you the updates on this debate and today's top stories, weather and traffic on air and on the NBC6 app. Thanks for being with us.